Welcome back to the Life of Genghis Khan campaign. Last time we completed the game. Well, that's nice, isn't it? I decided to keep playing after the technical end of the campaign, and indeed discovered there is more stuff to do. There's another story-based campaign to go and attack the Khwarazem in the west of the map. So we're in the middle of doing that and finishing off the Jin, and in this final part I'll just be covering a few interesting bits and pieces that happened during this process. As I mentioned last time, currently our war is defined by the enemy spamming loads of small armies and me just constantly trying to stop them from harassing me, which is annoying because it means I can't rest my forces before I go on to continue properly. And against the Jin, the main issue we have is that we don't know where they are anymore. We blew up a couple more of their cities recently, and now I am just looking around towards the edge of the map trying to find the rest of them. Here you can see the annoying Khwarazem attacks coming in. Not going to win, but it stops us from reinforcing our main push to go and actually attack their next settlement, and that's what this battle here is about. There were a few units in between us and the next settlement, their capital in fact, but we took them down easily. And here you can see me sneaking down this little river valley towards Samarkand there. There is an enemy army on the other side of the river, so we'll stick on this side for now. However, by the next turn, after we've shuffled along a little bit, things have changed. Now, there are three armies. I mentioned last time I suspected the enemy were hiding and unhiding troops because they seem to either be moving very quickly each turn or just be randomly appearing around me. And in this case, we do get screwed over because these armies catch up to me as I move and start a fight. The three stacks were all just peasant trash, so we do actually win there and beat them back. But that wasn't the end of it, because by the next turn, now there's a full stack of elite troops in their capital, and there's another stack on the other side of the mountains that's just there suddenly. So hopefully you see what I mean about armies just appearing, and that's going to be a running theme in this part. There's plenty more of that from the Khwarazem to come. So I ended up trying to abandon my attack on the capital and swing round the west side of the mountains to get away, but another stack appeared in front of me, plus our trailing two armies had their path blocked by our leading army. You can't move through your own men, and it causes issues with queues forming. And long story short, our armies at the back got rear attacked as we tried to escape, and we actually lost loads of men, but we didn't get attacked again after that. So we did make it back to our territory, where I've now just stacked up there and I'm sitting around replenishing. This is actually a few turns later, where I'm starting to think about going after the Khwarazem again, having got more armies together. But while I prepare for that, we're going to jump back over to the Jin because I have actually found another one of their settlements to attack. There is an army standing in front of it, and we have to make a river crossing to attack. But you know, don't even have to really look at what the enemy army is. We know it's going to be worse than what we've got because I'm spamming the end game Khan's Guard and heavy cav units. So we just rush over, looks like we defeated them easily enough, and then we just need to bring over loads more stuff, as you can now see I've done. Then we attack the town with overwhelming numbers, and eventually someone manages to force their way in, and there we go, that's another Jin city down. Now I was really hoping that this would be the last one. I figured this was their last one because it was their capital and I spent so long trying to find it. But it isn't, they've got another town somewhere, so now I have to spend ages looking for that. Meanwhile, I've actually got peace over in the west. You can see what I'm doing with my peace deal is not being peaceful at all. So I've sent loads of armies to prepare to attack the Khwarazem while the truce expires, and the second it goes, we'll cross the line and get back into that war. In the meantime, still carrying on with the Jin thing, I eventually moved north and did find another Jin town. This one's very undeveloped, so easy to attack. Got a stack outside, and that stack actually does have a few good units in it, but we are spamming good units left, right and centre, so that's not going to be a problem for us. We'll just rush on in and see what happens. So here it is, the final battle against the Jin Chinese, and the field is absolutely covered in our heavy archers. We have so many good units at this point, we are unstoppable. Down goes whatever the enemy had. And soon enough we can gather up as well to attack the town. I think it only had wooden walls, so we went in there on, it might even have been the very first turn of the siege actually. There we go, settlement has fallen. And this time, as it will turn out, this was their last settlement. So at long last, the Jin are down. I've mentioned before that I thought defeating the Jin might be some sort of story thing, because it mentioned in some message near the beginning that taking down the Jin was almost a condition for winning the campaign. Obviously it isn't actually, but my self-imposed condition has been completed, And I just confirmed to myself that, yeah, nothing in particular happens if you do completely destroy the Jin, so that's the end of that. Now it's just the Khwarazem to kill. The other two factions, by the way, they'll be my ally, but not my vassal, which is annoying, but doesn't really matter at this stage. We don't need any more vassals because we're already beyond the victory conditions. These troops will be of no use to us, so I'm just going to send them back to sit in what I suppose is now Mongolia and hang around so we look powerful to the other factions. Now it's time to go back to Khwarazm for phase 2 of our big war. We can really cheekily get things started before the war is declared, because in this game you are allowed to go into other people's territory and destroy their farms even while you're at peace with them. So I'm just doing that, just setting up, keeping to the terms of the truce, and so are they, but now the enemy doesn't have an economy, so no matter what happens, they're going to starve to death, whether they win the war or not. Then we go in there and pop off a cheeky war declaration, and now we can get started properly. So as you can see, we've surrounded most of the enemy settlements with stuff. Some of them only a little bit of stuff, not necessarily enough to take it, but their capital, Samarkand in particular, and Bukhara to the northwest, have tons of stuff ready to take them. I was annoyed to find here that my superior catapults, better than the ones I've used previously, actually can't break down the walls in this settlement by the looks of things, so that was a waste of time dragging them over here. But never mind, we'll just go after it anyway. We'll do it the slow way. Spam guys into the gate, and eventually someone's going to get through and change the flags over. So here we go. There was something of a battle to be had at Samarkand, because they do have a stack of good troops right outside there. However, it's doing the old weird freeze thing where the battle doesn't really take place for a while. So I had to wait and see if it would come back. I think this happens when you start too many battles at the same time or something. Well, that makes it more likely to happen. After a while I checked back in and the fighting was ongoing, but I think I missed the bulk of the actual fight outside Samarkand. Well, we won basically because the enemy aren't there anymore and our men are completely surrounding the place and are going to steadily get themselves killed standing in front of the towers while they try to open the gates. Then they're going to less steadily get themselves killed going into the gates to try and destroy enemy units. Gonna take absolutely forever, but nothing else to do. At Merv, I'm also doing the same thing, but only with a stack of peasant spears. I'm basically just spamming them with trash, even though they're going to die, just because I can. There was an example that confirmed the enemy are hiding troops. When I ended my turn, an enemy army appeared suddenly outside Merv to take part in the battle. So that was before the enemy turn. That wasn't just recruited, that was hidden there. Not sure why only this faction is hiding troops. All the other factions we did this against didn't appear to use this strategy, but Khwarazem seem to do it all the time as far as I can tell. Most of their armies are hidden. Anyway, at Merv, as I said, it's not going very well because I am just attacking with peasant spears, but it doesn't matter if we lose them, so we'll just try and destroy a few gates with them and then go in with our more serious armies once they're done. At Bukhara, there was also a case of a full stack suddenly appearing. I think this full stack might actually have been recruited just outside the settlement while I was there. So now I'm facing tons of peasant spears, and while they're not very good, their numbers are disrupting the siege and making it take a while. Then, I think this is a couple of turns later, this new battle started, which surprised me, the Battle of Tashkent. This is back over at my forward base. There's an enemy stack coming at me. I think this is a case where the enemy have just surprised me using my old not paying attention weakness. So by walking just slightly out of the camera's view of the front lines, they can put a stack into my back lines. In this case, I happened to have some reinforcements who were just moving out of Tashkent, who defeated that invasion, so we got away with it, but there it is happening again, my classic folly. Now, a while later, Bukhara and Samarkand fall at the same time, and we finally made some progress, with huge losses, no doubt. And now I need to decide what to do with these two places. I could keep both, because my authority is now higher due to techs progressing. However, I'm not going to keep both. I decided I'll keep one, and I'm going to choose Bukhara. I'm just showing you my decision-making process here for once. I'm keeping Bukhara because it has military buildings already in it, so it's more suitable as a base. However, we can't just occupy it, because we need to kill some of the people inside. The reason for that is there's no food supply left over because we besieged the place and destroyed the farms, and the people will rebel due to the lack of food supply. For some reason they're blaming me for all of this, so by killing them in advance, it reduces the public order penalty from there being a lack of food, and everything is a bit happier. That's the logic. My reinforcements are going to break through the continued Khwarazem spam in the east, and will prepare to move on to attack the next two nearby Khwarazem settlements. Had to hack through a bunch of tiny forces on the way, but that's alright. However, my reinforcements were increasingly bogged down by more and more stuff appearing in their path, and here it appears that an enemy unit has moved inside one of my vassals' random colonies here and captured it, and then my army nearby is mysteriously defeated by a force of what appears to be like 1 unit of peasant spears. I'm not quite sure what happened there. We got annihilated and pushed back, and the enemy take that territory, so reinforcements will not be on the way. We've lost half of our reinforcement army or more so far, and now the Khwarazm have another settlement right there. They do have a couple of real units in the area. There was 1 unit of noble cav or something I spotted, so maybe that's what was causing our defeat. A bit strange. Anyway, as ever, the reaction is start spamming. We're basically using Khwarazm's own citizens against them here by just recruiting them and throwing them in, so no problem to spam out some more guys and throw them into the grinder. However, what's this suddenly appearing on the right? If you watched very closely there, you would have seen a full stack coming out of hiding right on the edge of our border. They're at it again, and that full stack actually prevents my reinforcement army from going back to our territory where I was sending it, so that's pretty nasty. Our advance on Merv and Urgench is now getting serious. Our men are ready to attack. Urgench is defended by like 3 and a bit stacks, so that's going to be a big one, but I've sent like 10 stacks. And over at Tashkent, we lose another battle. The enemy have secured our line of reinforcement towards the prior Samarkand area, so that's a shame. And oh, what was that? Did you see that for a couple of frames right there? From the same tile where that 1 enemy stack appeared before, 2 more also appear right there, so now suddenly there are 3 stacks right there. This is getting out of control very quick. This is getting out of hand. Now there are 3 of them. I don't know what's going on. They're just spamming peasant spears somehow. You can see me looking around like, is there a massive military base like right here that's creating these units that I can't see? The answer to that question, by the way, is yes. However, I actually can see it. I just haven't looked at it yet. It's another one of these cases where the camera is my biggest enemy. If you looked very closely there, you would have seen a tiny bit of Khwarazm territory just on the right-hand edge of the screen. Eventually, I'm going to discover a secret about where their territory actually is. In the meantime, we just keep spamming. We've got plenty of capacity, so we're going to counter spam as much as we can. Next, a big battle takes place as all of those spawned stacks, quote unquote, the ones coming out of hiding, try to cross the river and they meet with one of my armies. In this case, they're going to struggle, because they're all just peasant spears, as I'm confirming there. They're not really going to get through a force of trained spearmen and trained archers, which is what my stack right there is, I think. So we're fine and we repel them, for now at least. However, by the end of that turn, it's not just 3 stacks, it's 4 stacks. There's another one over there now. They are still multiplying very rapidly, so we need to counter spam hard. And here's me discovering the secret of Khwarazm's success. There are 2 massive settlements right there. No idea why I never saw them before. Were they there before, ladies and gentlemen? I don't remember. They've also got one back there amid our vassals' territory, but I think they just recently stole it off them. So that's looking a bit annoying, isn't it? We can react to this though by using our prior forward base to spam out tons of Tumen cavalry of the heavy and regular variety. A nice powerful unit that we can recruit en masse in this area, so I'll spam out 2 stacks of all cav and then rush down towards that Fergana Valley area to start dealing with this flow of peasant spears. At Tashkent in the meantime though, we have to deal with the fact that these 4 stacks, actually 5 stacks if you're looking very closely right there, are now on their way to attack. The 5th stack is just off screen to the right at the moment. I do have 2 superior stacks defending, but as things happened, one of my stacks isn't participating in this fight. Not quite sure why, but because it's currently moving off to the right there to extend our defense away from the river, it ends up not being drawn into this fight. And that means we've actually got 1 stack defending against the enemy's 4, and at this stage our troop quality isn't enough to hold off the enemy. The enemy's sheer numbers will do them good. Over at Urgench is a massive battle going on that I'm just not paying attention to. We're spamming like 10 stacks into their 3 or 4, so we'll win probably, especially because the enemy are just fielding peasant spears over there, and we're fielding all the elite units. Back at Tashkent, this is the battle that matters to me, because we're actually going to lose it. It seems the enemy are going to successfully cross the river and start pressuring our border. That 5th stack I mentioned has now moved up as well and is joining the battle. So it's all bad news. We do lose that fight and lose, I don't know, perhaps a third or half of a stack's worth of troops in the process. At least we did finally capture Merv after butting our heads against the gates for a very long time, so that's another base for us. Just need to finish off the enemy faction leader in that area who's wandering about in the desert. Might as well take him down. But yes, look at the things at Tashkent. It's getting worse and worse. We need to up the counter spam, as I said. There are limits to how many troops you can recruit. That theoretically applies to the enemy as well, though. So as long as we have roughly the same number of settlements, we can spam until the cows come home. This, of course, leads to some trash wars. We're just spamming peasant spears at each other and seeing what happens. So let's see what happens. The battle is on now, being distracted here by some unimportant battle over at Merv. We do have some actual troops here, it's not just spam on spam in reality, so we have the advantage, but that said, the enemy appear to be turning our flank right here. They're passing by our men here and our troops are routing all over the place, looking a little bit nasty. I guess it wouldn't matter if we did lose this battle, because we're not going to lose the campaign because of this, but as a matter of principle, I just want to show my dominance by not letting the Khwarazem have anything, so we can't let them break through to Tashkent. The trash war continues, and eventually we do win this battle, just with relatively large amounts of losses. Lots of our own peasant troops got killed. I say killed. When the numbers drop at the top, it's just because men are routing, so you'll see here that your little flags kind of pop back up in strength right after the battles are over as men return to the armies. One of our armies has annoyingly ended up behind enemy lines somehow. It retreated in a weird way and reformed over there. So that doesn't help with our defensive line, but it will at least be a distraction that will attract enemy attention. And while that was going on, we did capture the new Khwarazem capital of Urgench, so their economy is surely taken downtown. We've got all their main settlements. It's just these 2 in the little valley there we need to go worry about now, and men are already on the way. As you can probably tell, the camera is out of control and the lag is out of control as well. That's how you know an Oriental Empire's campaign is about to end, because the performance just goes through the floor as more and more stuff is visible on the map at once and it just becomes unmanageable. Anyway, this was very nearly the very end of the campaign, because the game totally froze at the end of this turn. It triggered so many battles at once that the battle freeze thing didn't ever unfreeze after a while. Well, I waited like 10 minutes and it was still going, so had to break out the nukes and Alt F4 and reload the autosave. The issue actually is that when you reload an autosave and hit end turn, as I did, it's not like in Total War where what you did in that turn is kept. The autosave's at the start of the turn, I think. So actually, my orders to send reinforcements out of Tashkent to stop the enemy advancing didn't go through, and we lost a battle there with our scraps of armies getting attacked by the enemy's trash wave. Not that it matters, of course, but that was annoying. We'll just recruit some more trash and hold them off. As you can see, here we are now with some more stuff available to take them down. Annoying battles going on all over the place as my troops who are on the way back to reinforce stumble into enemies. But here's the important thing for this turn. Our men are now arriving at Osh, so it's time to really bring the enemy down once and for all by taking out these cities. There's a stack of peasant archers that just gets absolutely swept aside by my horse archers, who are pretty much invincible to regular arrows at this point, so that's all fine. Plus at Tashkent, during all this fighting, I've been gradually building up the military infrastructure, and we've got to the point where we can recruit the end game units and throw them out into the mix all the time as well. So now the enemy's spammed trash doesn't stand a chance. We're starting to spam good stuff, and our numbers are getting up there as well. So now finally the situation has stabilized and there's nothing to worry about. Osh surrenders due to terror when we get closer to it. However, we're going to kill them all, which is quite mean, because they're surrendering to stop us from killing them, but we just killed them anyway. I guess the good Genghis timeline is over. We're just killing everyone now because I'm annoyed about this whole pop-up spam trash thing. And with the enemy's spammed trash now thinning out due to them not having any money, and I think actually disbanding units, they were just disappearing at quite a rapid rate, we can split the force defending Tashkent and send some of them over to help out with the attack on Fergana, just so we can really spam the enemy now and give them a taste of their own medicine. I think Fergana also surrendered on its first turn of siege actually. Well, we end up capturing it pretty soon, whatever the case, and I am going to keep it as a prize because it's a pretty nice settlement. And with that, our mission to take down the Khwarazem I think is completed. Basically, it's not there anymore. I don't know if we had completed it, maybe we completed it earlier and I just wasn't checking, but it seems I've completed my objective, and all I wanted to do was take down all those settlements I could see, so I've done my self-imposed objective once again in this case. Now there is more to the enemy actually. They have many more settlements around the place, as well as all these armies all over the place that I'm currently attacking. We can actually tell where to go to find more of them, because at certain zoom levels you can see enemy trade routes, and there it is, just snaking out of the fog of war. So they're to our south. However, in this case I couldn't be bothered to go after them. We can even check, very cheekily, the number of settlements score in the scoreboards, and that tells you how much of an enemy is left, and they've got 4 or 5 settlements by the looks of things. So that sounds like a lot of hassle. I am declaring the campaign over at this point because I've done everything that I was planning to do basically, and more really. That is going to be the end of that then. What I did do, at the suggestion of someone in the comments a while ago, was use a cheat to turn off the fog of war and just see what's going on across the map. One thing I noted is that a lot of the map actually is sea, so a lot of the area that I hadn't discovered has nothing in it, so that's good, we weren't missing anything. But of course we can see the rest of Khwarazem down there. They've got perhaps a few settlements that are actually developed and lots of ones that look like they're new or basically have nothing in them. So we probably could go and kill them very easily, but I can't be bothered, and of course nothing will happen if we do. At least I think nothing will happen now that the mission has disappeared anyway, so we're just going to ignore that. As for the rest of the world, it's just full of mountains, nothing, or our vassals. We control the whole map, really. Pretty good game overall. Let's look at the final scores just for fun. We 124% completed the game, so that's pretty good completionism. Now we're going to look at all of the things on the scoreboard. First, victory points. I must admit I don't really know what victory points are, but we've got the most of them and we won, so I guess that checks out. We'll live with that. There's also cultural victory points. This is more defined. You get them for having certain edicts and building particular buildings. We're actually winning on that despite me never building said buildings. I guess I captured some, and whenever the enemy built them, the other factions built them, they ended up becoming controlled by me in the end or something, so somehow we've got a whole load of culture. Mongol culture is high culture, I'll have you know. We have the most number of settlements and the biggest population just on our own, not including our vassals, so that's pretty good. All of those random camps I set up at the start of the game and then just ignored for the last 200 turns have gradually got a few people in them. We have the greatest military strength, which you might imagine from us having like 100 stacks spammed out all across the map. We had the most battles fought, with our two main enemies in second and third place, and their combined score probably explains us being in first. Enemy civilians killed? Well, no one's really trying, are they? It's really just been us killing people. The Shisha have killed somebody by the looks of things, but when it comes to genocide, the Mongolians really just win by default here. Absolutely abysmal effort from everyone else. Enemy soldiers killed? While some other factions did kill some troops, but really, again, it's all about us. We have killed most people in the world. We also got quite a few of our own people killed by the looks of this. We're winning for own soldiers killed. It was something like 19,000 enemies killed to 11,000 of our men lost. Not all that good as ratios go, but I guess somebody has to die to take over the world, and most of the people dying were enemy civilians, so that's still good. We had the most buildings, again, despite barely building anything. I guess all the stuff we captured from the enemy added up, and all the things the enemy built ended up in our hands, so that went well in the end. If I'd actually spent my money, you can see at the top left I've got tons, and upgraded all my settlements, I don't know where we would have ended up on these scoreboards. Not that it matters in any way, because we won with the low effort, low attention approach, which is what I thought would happen, so that worked out in the end. With that, the campaign is officially over, as you might be able to tell. There is still like 40 turns left, but I'm pretty sure nothing would happen if we played through those turns, so we're just going to abandon it here. By the way, Genghis is still alive. He's at our capital right now. You can see we've got an army there. He's just sitting there doing nothing. And I think that's probably how the rest of his career is going to go, because there's not much else to do. We could go conquer our vassals, I guess, now that we have more authority, but no point. So a very successful career from Genghis. He barely took part in any of it. He was only there for a couple of the battles, but our massive armies of spam eventually took over the world. Plus, our just sheer population levels took over the world. This series of camps you can see here is most people in the world. They're just there, living there on the plains, doing their things with the sheep. So, thank you very much for watching this Oriental Empire's Life of Genghis Khan campaign. Abridged. Coming up next at the time of release will be a Medieval 2 stainless steel mod abridged campaign. Not sure what it will be because I haven't looked into it, but that's just what won the recent vote. So I'll work on something, and by the time you see this, it will be, hopefully, just 1 week away from starting. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you for the next thing.